Welcome back, fellow warriors, to the stage of history. My name is Cosmo Jazz, and I'm here to give you what hopefully will be a treat for you for the next couple of videos that I'm going to be producing as of right now that has been kind of near and dear to my heart. If you were subscribed to me or you're new to the channel, whatever, you might want to know that I am a huge Soul Calibur fan. Now, when it comes to story and whatnot, maybe not be the most well versed in it, but I have owned every single Soul Calibur, yes, this includes Soul Blade, since the start. Like, every single one. I might not have had a console to play Soul Blade on, particularly, that I owned, but I owned every single one of them. So, I just want that to be clear that I love this series. And it's because of my love of this series that I want more people to come to this series. Now, when it comes to fighting games in general, it seems that a lot of people just don't want to go to a fighting game, mainly because either it feels too hard, you're probably going to get beat up by somebody that's online or whatever, it doesn't feel like it's user-friendly, or it feels like it's too much to learn at a time where you just want to pick up and play the game. Now, this is where I hopefully can come in for you and help fix some of these things. This is a project I've been thinking on for a while now, and I do think this will help you as the player coming in, hopefully, to the game, to be able to beat basically your friends in no time, really. It's like a basic guide tutorial on all the Soul Calibur series that really has never changed from basically Soul Calibur onward to where we are today. Even in Soul Calibur 6, when I was watching some of the gameplay videos, it seems like all the core mechanics are still there, with addition to some new mechanics that are there, and so on and so forth. I mean, technically they still have the meter system from 5, so I can even talk about that still at a pretty good concept, I think. But overall, I want this guide to be something you can come back to and just be like, okay, how does this work? How does that work? Why should I know this? Why should I know that? So here we are with a beginner's guide to the Soul Calibur series to possibly help you become really, well, I won't say really good, but at least competent in the game to where you feel like you can go off on your own and become the best as you can be in this game. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about, you know it has to be done, it is the thick. Alright, you see the Taki, you see the Sophitia, you see everything is... Nah, I'm just playing though, for real though. The first thing we're going to talk about is probably one of the most basic things that to talk about, but it is also one of the most crucial aspects of Soul Calibur series as a whole, as far as my opinion goes, and that is movement. Now, unlike a game like Street Fighter, where it's like forward, back 2D, or even like a game like Tekken, where it's kind of like you're sidewalking, you're doing your Korean backdashes and stuff like that, Soul Calibur doesn't really follow those rules. What it has is what's called an 8-axis run, which is basically you push your forward, you're running forward, you push back, you're moving pretty fast. The movement's kind of fast and going on. You press down, you're going fast around to the right or to the left. If you press up. If you press up, you're gonna jump. Press down, you're gonna duck, and so on and so forth. Now you might be wondering, why am I going to start off with this particular thing? The reason is that Soul Calibur uses, quote, weapons, as you can see, and weapons go a long way with the thing that they can use as far as attacks go. And with your movement, it could go either one of two ways. Either you can have really great movement and list a lot of attacks that are coming to you. You don't even have to block them or anything. Or you can have really bad movement and you're gonna have to deal with a lot of pressure from maybe a Keelik or a Taki or whoever might be up in your face at that time. So the first thing you're going to want to do is master this movement. And I'm going to go much deeper into that as far as we go along with the attacks that are going to be in the game. However, one thing that I see a lot of new Soul Calibur players do is they just go in and it's like, oh, it's just like Tekken, so I can just do Korean backdashes and all this other stuff. No, don't do that. It's kind of a different meta, and you're going to be in a real bad shape if you go in that way. And honestly, I feel like I like this better than the Korean backdashing, back, down kind of system that Tekken has, because it feels more fluid. It feels like you can really move around the arena, which is actually something you need to do, because what Soul Calibur has, which is something that only I think the Virtua Fighter really has, as far as being known for having it, is ring out. And your movement ability can be the difference between, okay, I'm going to ring this person out, to, oh my gosh, they're going to ring me out. But we'll get into that later. Right now, big thing, movement, 8-axis, learn it well. And if you have any more questions, feel free to put them down in the comment below. I was talking about it. Let's move on to the next thing, shall we? Alright, so now we're going to get into the more offensive thing about Soul Calibur, which is the button layout for your attacks. Now you have the A button, which is horizontal attacks. You have the B button, which is vertical attacks. You have the K button, which is kick. And you have the G button, which is your blocking. Now I'm going to have them up on the screen so you can see where the layout is on most controllers as default. Now, as far as horizontal, vertical, kicking, and all that goes, these are going to be the basic things you're going to need in order to make some damage on your opponent. So, with vertical attacks, they basically go up and down. Very good against like ducking opponents and whatnot, but it's very bad against people who know how to use the 8-way run. Now you also have horizontal attacks, which is very good against people who love to use the 8-way run, but not great against vertical attacks or people who like to duck. Now, to put it in a perspective for those who want like more of a clear picture, it's basically rock, paper, scissors. Rock gets beaten by paper, paper gets beaten by scissors, so on and so forth. Same concept. The only difference is basically once you've done it, you haven't won the game, basically. But what this system basically is for is kind of mind game set, to where you're trying to get your opponent to guess wrong against your attack, and vice versa. Now, the thing about the attack system in this is that unlike where you want to go for the big launcher to get your big damaging combo and whatnot, here what you're trying to get is momentum. So you get a good hard knockdown attack from your horizontal attack, from which is the good attack. Then you can start really putting some pressure on them with some really light attacks and all other attacks as well. Now, more often than not, the one that's going to really get them down on the ground is the vertical attack. And the vertical attack, as I've said before, is going to be beaten by the 8-way run. So you're going to want to use some horizontal attacks to get your opponents to stop moving. And then once you've conditioned them into that aspect, then you want to hit them with some vertical attacks, so where they're either not moving or they're blocking. And then you can get some pretty good pressure on your opponent this way. But more on that later. Right now, we're just trying to get you in. We're easing you into the world of Soul Calibur. So, to quick recap, horizontal, it beats 8-way run. Vertical, it's beaten by 8-way run. And 8-way run, it's godlike, man. It's just too godlike, man. I can't talking. No, I'm just kidding. But no, as we have stated before, 8-way run is the horizontal attacks bitch. Alright, now let's get to another topic, that is guarding. Guarding is a very good way to keep yourself alive. It's also a very good way to make yourself predictable. Now, you have your standing guard and you have your ducking guard. Now, ducking guard is for like getting low attacks and also helping you dodge the horizontal attacks as well. Now, the thing about guarding is that guarding can be a strength as much as a weakness, because if you telegraph your guarding, all your opponent has to do really is either catch you at a certain angle or just run up and throw you. Now, you do have defenses against this kind of tactics with your guarding. For example, if they're just going to run up and throw you, just duck. You duck and then you punish with a horizontal or vertical attack, whatever you deem necessary for the thing to get you back into the momentum to get your opponent on the defensive. If your opponent is trying to 8-way run you so they can hit you from behind, just take off the guard button, just move back, and then guard again. Because most likely they're going to try to hit you with a vertical attack, and you just have to block it. Now, there are other methods also in order to guard oncoming pressure, but we're going to get into that in the more advanced section of the video that I'm going to be making. So right now we're just going to focus on the things that will keep you alive at a lower level, and we'll work our way up from there. Next thing we're going to talk about is the HUD. Now, the HUD has changed over time with each Soul Calibur game, so it all depends on what the Soul Calibur game's new-ish mechanics are. So let's take Soul Calibur 5 for example, since Soul Calibur 6 seems to be taking most from Soul Calibur 5. There's a gauge system, there's your health bar, and then there is a kind of blocking meter. Now, the blocking meter is if you're blocking too much, they break your guard, blah blah blah, you know how it is. Health bar, once your health bar reaches 0, you're done. And then there's the super meter where you can use EX moves and also super attacks. Now, we'll get into that in the more advanced section of it, but until then, this is pretty much all you really need to know about this gauge, life bar, and whatnot. And as we go along further, it'll become basically second nature to you on this. Like, oh, my character is at half health, and his character is over at less than half health. My character is a booty warrior, and your character is Slim Shady. I don't know where that came from, don't ask me. But now we're gonna move on to the next thing, alright? Alright. Last thing we're going to talk about as far as basics go are ring outs. Now, not every stage has a ring out as far as like the 4 square things go, or if it's a round circle all the way ring out. But the ones that do, you must be careful when you're on the edge, because the second you fall off, that's it for the round. It doesn't matter if you have bigger health and your opponent doesn't, so on or so forth, or even if there's a billion seconds on the clock. The second you are off that ring, it is over. Now, this is something that's been prevalent in every Soul Calibur that has been known to man. And in order to keep yourself off of the ring out, basically what you're gonna do is maybe one of 3 things. You're going to want to try to read your opponent to see if they're going to do a vertical attack to get you off, which is most likely what they're more gonna do. Or if they're gonna try to grab you, you wanted to duck and then maybe get out of the way with your 8-way run, punish, whatever you want to do. But the one thing you have to do, regardless of whatever happens at that point, is read what your opponent's doing. Because if they're just coming up to run towards you, they might go for what's called a slide, where you do a running and then you kick. And if they do that, all you have to do is dodge right or left, and they will take themselves off of the stage. And then you will win by that. But your main goal is to not panic. That's a whole nother thing that you don't want to do. Because if you panic, more often than not, you're going to do the very thing your opponent wants you to do, and you're off that ring. So until you're off the ring, it's not over. Just breathe, think, and adapt. That's what you have to do to beat out the ring out situation. Because honestly, it's just as dangerous for your opponent to be in that situation as well, because all they have to do is one wrong mistake, and then next thing you know, they're the one in the situation, or they're the one who's been knocked out. It's happened so many times in Soul Calibur history, and that is why it makes this actually quite one of the more exciting aspects of the game, in my opinion. But that being said, just breathe when it comes to this situation. Everybody in the beginning always wants to be like, I gotta get away, I gotta get away. And then they'll take so much damage that they could have missed, or they'll be just knocked off anyway. So that's what you gotta do. Just breathe, adapt, and take care of it. Alright guys, so that's basically the basics of what you need to know to get yourself started in Soul Calibur. Basically in any of them, even Soul Edge. So, next time on the next video, we're going to be going to the more advanced meta of the game. Like guard impacts, Oki, Okizumi, with all this other stuff that maybe sounds very technical. I promise you, it's probably some of the easiest things to understand once you really get a grip on it. But until then, I hope this video, I really do, wow, I cracked there. I hope this video is really beneficial to you so that the game doesn't seem so, I don't know, difficult to get into, because honestly I don't believe that this game is that hard once you really get into it. And if you need more help, be sure to comment down below. I am always reading the comments. No matter how long or whatever it is, I will read them and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. And I will have the next video hopefully a lot sooner than this. But until next time, does your soul still burn? Mine does. Take care, guys. Peace.